Thanks, Gordon. Appreciate it. Do you want me to come get here, just log y'all out when we're done?
But yeah, I've always been
Yeah,
a jazz fan.
Okay, great.
There's not been a lot of
I'll be on
venues.
my computer.
There used to be back in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, should, well, true.
I'm closest to
But I.
Leslie Gray.
Even if I'm on.
She
So what
had
happens when we
she had
go to
owned
the
a jazz club downtown where she was running a jazz.
Story, we don't have.
She runs
We were deprived.
Northwest Mediation Center. She's an attorney.
Oh, yeah.
And
Just right across the lobby.
she's semi-retired.
She
plays
is,
the
just in,
soprano
outside in the
sax.
lobby here, and that's a.
Didn't you
Yeah, she had her own jazz band
Presentation.
here in Spokane at the
It's
point.
the one that's right.
I remember these downtown, are you familiar?
It's on here.
So I think she used to be like she used to run it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they're primarily jazz.
Yeah,
I
that's
played there once with my other group, but that's primarily a jazz venue, so that's a great place to go if you're interested in that.
I'm pretty sure. So I know about Imagine Jazz because of a teacher. She did I had to do one arts course and it was jazz in America, and she taught it, and yeah, we just got connected and I went to her concerts.
Yeah. Yeah, if you look hard enough, you can find a lot of different styles of music in Spokane. But you do have to look at it because it's not really out there.
Yeah.
So paralegal, right?
Mm.
So is there a specific type of law that you were more interested in when you started?
No,
to get
I
into
didn't. So when I moved here in 2016, and
Oh, okay.
I knew I had to get some. So I was a field technician. I have a certificate in computer repair and maintenance from university back home. When I got here, couldn't find jobs in that, so I needed to come back to school. And I just knew that I would always have a job as a paralegal, so I did my associates here in paralegal studies. I had no interest in the law, but I knew that no interest in it.
Do you still use this one, or are you gonna use that?
And that's why I
I
was
would
doing my
use this.
bachelor's as well in public
So
service
you can also
administration,
log me
because I
out
know
of that.
I could use my background in paralegal studies to work with a nonprofit or with the government.
Link version. Is that what I want?
So, but I worked in the civil
No, up this?
litigation area for,
It's
I wanna
the-
say 6 of the 8 years I've been doing this.
Link version.
And so I was there for a while,
Yes,
for a long
Canva.
time.
Yes.
It's hard work,
Sorry.
but it's,
Like-
most of it's rewarding. But they just recently moved me to their family law department. Which is again, we
Okay, well, you tell
do
me when you're ready.
a lot of work for the state. Mainly modification and child support orders so that kids can get, it's really, we represent the state, we represent either party, so it's making sure that kids can get what they're supposed to. Cause they have orders that are 12 years, 15 years old, that are set at $50. I'm like, how is this mom even taking,
I saw that.
or whoever
The
the
judge
custodial
dismissed.
parent is, how are they even taking care of the child?
Or
If
Yeah,
all they
The
have,
judge-
all they're getting is $50 from the sort of.
The judge
A lot of times
No.
this isn't
Yeah.
arrears.
Or no, they did not,
That's crazy.
they wanted it dismissed and they
Yes.
denied it, yeah, that's what.
So yeah, we not,
That's what I meant to say.
it's tiring,
They
All
denied it
these
dismissed.
legal
Um,
keywords, yeah.
dealing with the state and the
Charles May
people
18.
who are underrepresented by it, so.
Well,
Makes it
I'll
a
send a
little
link, we need
Well, I
people
can
in the
imagine
courthouse
that,
every single day.
It's probably not gotten any easier
Easier
since there's been
versus
so many
shit.
cutbacks in
It could be a week
people
long trial,
in
that's
that,
how long
that
this
are
kind of thing will take.
in government agencies that were there to help people.
Well, one of the things
They tell you there's video sessions and how all of it works together. I wanted to show two things. One, Hadley's bringing up now what is called our resolutions library on our NAACP national website. So what we do as a branch, every year we go to our national convention. And our national convention is really all of the branches of NAACP coming together. And we're really talking about what's kind of not necessarily plaguing, but issues from our communities that we want to raise up the flagpole and get support from national to support us in what's called our resolution. A lot of times, we have long lists of issues in a lot of these communities. If you can imagine, a lot of those southern states are having issues with voter suppression. So it's a lot of that. There's been a lot of issues as it relates to the book ban, especially for colleges and education and curriculum. So these resolutions, basically, we take before the body of the national NAACP. And as a body, we vote on those resolutions. And once those resolutions are voted on as a body, then it goes into a book, and then a couple of months later, it goes into the library on our website. And then what it's designed to do is that we bring these resolutions back to our communities, and we work with our local legislative bodies. We work with our elected officials to push these resolutions forward, saying this has been adopted by the entire body of the NAACP. So it's not just, oh, Spokane branch wants this to happen. This has been supported by a national, it's voted on by the national body as issues that are plaguing our community and issues that we want our local elected officials to take and make serious and pass legislation, pass laws, change ordinances, or whatever it might be to support the NAACP and support changed legislation in our communities. So some of the ones that, for example, NAACP urges student loan forgiveness for long-term borrowers. That's a big issue across the country. It's not just selected to one or two areas. So like, I think I mentioned voter suppression earlier. Voter suppression's not a big deal here for us in Washington since we're mail-in ballot. So it's not to say it's not a big issue, because in those other states, it really is a big issue. So we really try to press upon voter education and candidate forums. But something like student loan forgiveness, that's across the country. That's something that we all really want to talk about. So this is an example of what a resolution looks like. Does it have on there where it stemmed from? Was it originated from a certain branch or from national? Usually it'll have which branch submitted it.
I don't think, maybe they just put that in the book.
Is it just in the book? Okay. In the book that we get when we go to national, it will tell you what branch or what where it originated. Like sometimes it comes from our national body. They'll originate resolutions. Sometimes it's local branches will originate resolutions. You can also go and amend resolutions when we're there. And I have two people here, both Hadley and April, who talked to resolutions. Now, let me paint the picture for you of how this goes. So if you think about national convention, we have 4,000 members who come to a certain city. Last year, it was North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina. 4,000 people, but then you have a room of 2,000 delegates, and we're delegates that come from all over the country. And we're reading these resolutions, and some of us are like, want to make amendments. Either we like the resolution, but we feel like it needs to be tweaked a little bit, or we feel like, no, we just don't want to support this resolution at all. Do you want to speak towards your resolution that you?
Sure. Oh, it's funny that I'm wearing this today. There was a resolution put forth 2 years ago that had to do with sharing and like affirming support for Haitian immigrants and refugees. It came out of I think it was a Midwestern state that had a really high percentage of Haitian refugees. There's just some general language supporting it. The very last line of the amendment, though, or the last line of the resolution said something along the lines of, we would urge the U.S. government to give as much aid to Haitian community members as they would to Palestinian community members, which to me just was very unnecessary and also positioned two communities to have to fight against each other, which is not the world that I want to live in. So our branch talked about it, and we asked to just strike that last line from the resolution so that we wouldn't, it was not necessary, it wasn't helpful, and they.
And it's not just NAACP. Again, there's a room full of 2,000 delegates. And if you've ever been to like a city council, or if you've been to, they're sitting up high like it's the wonderful Wizard of Oz, and you have to go to a mic and speak in front of all these people and to these, officials who are up on this platform and saying, hi, I'm Hadley from Spokane, Washington, and I would like to, and then whatever the amendment is. And so it really is a lot of back and forth on if they're going to accept the amendment, if they're going to talk about it, if someone disagrees. And Hadley's amendment was selected, and they, made that amendment.
Awesome.
April did it last year. Do you want to explain your amendment?
It was about cell phones being banned in schools, and the unique part about being at the convention is you get experiences in education from all across the country. So there were cases where one teacher, I believe from Chicago, stood up and there was a death because a student had a phone and a teacher took it, and that student, I think, pushed or hit the teacher. So there's this strong stance against zero tolerance, and I just don't think that's realistic because I work in a school. I work with kids who need to use their phones because I'm helping them do FAFSA and college applications. So I think that I asked for the amendment not to be zero tolerance. And the other point that was made on the floor that I didn't make but was very good is how do you redress that in schools where in some states they're proposing guns for teachers for safety.
Yeah.
So a kid has a phone, there's a zero tolerance policy, and that how do you do legal redress and protect kids who break that rule when in some parts, and I think it was in North Carolina, where they were proposing that teachers arm themselves. So I thought the language needed to be changed because I think it's management. And that was the point I was trying to make. Like 20 years ago, it wasn't cell phones, it was calculators on your watch. And I think if you have a discipline problem in your building and a culture of a behavioral culture problem in your building, a phone, a hat, gum, whatever is going to be the issue. So you have to be realistic and it needs to be managed properly. But I think they accepted it. Did they accept mine? I think they did. I think they did.
I don't remember.
But the other intimidating factor is that all of the executive NAACP leadership is sitting up there. And our chairperson, Mr.
Leon Russell.
suffers no fools.
And he's very intimidating, but he's also funny.
Yes.
But he is very, he'll say, turn off mic 3.
Yeah, he'll cut your mic
He'll
off.
turn your mic off.
Yeah.
So
And he'll
there's
tell you to go sit down.
if you're in a big convention center, and you're seated by states, and so if there's 50 states, so do the math. And so there's like 5 different microphones that you have to go to, and he has to control 2,000 delegates. So sometimes, and then not only that, it's 2,000 delegates when we're talking about very heavy, serious issues that have to deal with very unique communities, because what's unique to North Carolina is different from what's in Spokane. What's going on in Spokane is different from what's going on in Alabama. What's going on in Alabama is different from what's going on in Chicago. So we all have these different issues. Some of them you would think cell phones in schools is kind of blanketed. It's not. It's not. So that's where it gets a little bit, again, having these amendments. Same thing with the aid going towards the Haitian community. You think it's kind of blanketed, but sometimes it's not because interpretation. So we want to make sure that for 2027, we're gonna go as your delegates. We always go, we send delegates to NAACP National Convention. And in the 2 years that I've been president, we've not done a resolution that's coming out of Spokane. And I feel like there are things that we're doing that we really need to put in front of the national body that can be applied to the rest of the country as well. Because again, our needs and what we're doing here is unique and different from what's going on in these other different cities. And then when we get the national backing, that helps us then go to Olympia to say, this is not just coming from Spokane, it is backed by our national NAACP. So that's where I wanted to have this meeting so that we can talk to members, find out what are issues that are plaguing our community. Now, I will say that it's too late for us to submit a resolution for this year. It's something that I think the deadline is, I mean, technically it's not too late. I think the deadline is in 2 weeks. So if we really want a pressing issue and submit a resolution, we could. But I want us to think about what are resolutions that we want for our branch in general that we can take from a local level to the legislative session in 2027 in Olympia, so that when we go to nationals next year, we can even say, we've already presented this resolution in front of our legislators in Olympia, and it was accepted, and we want it to be accepted for the resolution for NAACP National. So it can go both ways. So that's kind of the what I wanted to talk about, and what was the guiding force for this meeting is hearing from you all. You all know Spokane, we're here, we're residents, we're contributors. What are things that you feel are plaguing our community that we feel either our local elected officials aren't talking about, or our state officials aren't talking about, that we need to kind of raise the flag up the flagpole? I'm opening it up. That's an open question. And if we don't have anything now, definitely email me, call me, or one of us. But I think that there are things that we might even overlook: childcare, healthcare, elderly care, our youth. These are all things that, little small things that, student loan forgiveness, that can, all of us, I'm still paying on student loans, little things could be major things depending on, community. So that's really what I wanted to get us thinking about. Luke should be here in the next couple of minutes, and Luke's going to talk about the 2026 legislative session. Spokane had a lot of big wins as far as policy and as far as appropriations that's coming into our community, primarily also into the Black community that they will benefit from. And I wanted him to talk about that because here's the thing: the power of our collective voice. I feel like sometimes as a community, we don't understand the power of our collective voice. And our collective voice went to Olympia and was able to get different policies, and was able to get appropriations that's going to come back to help our community, especially one of the big major ones, the WSDOT land. All that land along I-90 that has been vacant for the last 20 years that they've been sitting on, that's a major issue. Families were displaced. My grandfather's house is a block away from that. Families were displaced. Can you respond to Luke? Tell him he's like community college, right? Yes. Families were displaced. Businesses closed. And so now there's such despair on both sides of the freeway, both on the south side and on the north side of the freeway. And they've not given us any leeway on what's going to happen. And not just us as community members, even with the city of Spokane, because the city does not own that land. The state of Washington owns that land. And so because the state of Washington owns that land, and they're in Olympia, so they don't see the eyesore. They're not impacted by that. And so I don't care what where you're at on the political spectrum. There's Republicans, there's conservatives, there's liberals, there's Democrats, there's progressives. All of us want something done about that land around I-90. And you know, coming to the community college, that freeway stops right there. And how long has it been like that?
What, like 40 years?
It's been like that for a very long time. And the city is like, how long do we have to bang the table? So because again, the city doesn't own it, this is the state problem. But back to the neighborhoods that were impacted were Hilliard and East Central. East Central and Hilliard have what? Low income communities of color. Two of the most impacted bodies of people, both sides of the tracks. They were heavily impacted. And so now we don't use our voice and they take advantage if we're not speaking up. But we did have a win. And Luke is going to get here now that we've told him where we're at.
Can I bring something up?
Yeah, you should.
So one of the things that I see recurring with Black and Brown communities is when we get our opportunity for what would be considered reparations, like the covenant, the home covenant, or when we have special programs that give us funding for businesses, that is being attacked as discriminatory. And I would like to analyze the law. Is it discriminatory when what is existing is the result of discrimination? Or is it correcting a social issue? Because what they've done is weaponize the laws that were meant to help those who were marginalized. And it's being used to take away funding opportunities. And we know the disparities are here, right? We know that the disparities continue. And as soon as we get that opportunity to raise ourselves up because of venture capital funds for Black women or for the Home Covenant program, it's not just one thing. They're coming for all the things that help us advance. I would like to create and formulate language from a legal standpoint that addresses that it's not discrimination, but they're trying to treat it as discrimination by being so meticulous with what the words of the law say without looking at the historical context. Is it discrimination when you're trying to balance a social ill?
And I'm glad you touched on the home covenant, and I don't know if everyone knows what the home covenant is. So there's the Black home covenant. Before 1968, it was written redlining. It was written into the title companies as far as houses or where people of color can purchase. And so it wasn't until 2024 that Washington State passed a resolution or ordinance, I don't remember which one it was, that removes that language of that covenant from title companies and from titles. Okay, great. That's great. So from that spun this program called the Black Home Ownership Covenant, which means that if you can prove that your family was victims of housing discrimination or housing being redlined, then you can qualify for up to $100,000 down payment on a new home. That's great, right? Because now your parents or grandparents who are looking to purchase a home, they may have, oh, look, Jasmine, yay. We're redlined to the East Central or to Hilliard or whatever neighborhood that they were redlined into. Now, the new generation who's looking to be homeowners can now benefit and say, you know what, thank you, give me that $100,000 down for a new home and I can purchase anywhere. Well, there are some who are trying to say that's discriminatory. And they're suing, HUD is trying to sue Washington State saying that you cannot discriminate and not give this program just to Black people or people of color. And it's like, well, why not? They were the ones that were redlined. So this is why it's holding up so far, but it's being attacked left and right. To your point, these were systems that were built to keep Black and brown people out. And now that they're trying to repair that or give some sort of reparation program for it, it's now being attacked.
And it's one entity who's coming after all these kind of programs. It's the same person, I forget who it is, that went after the ladies who were doing the Black Women's
Invested,
Venture.
yeah, they were
So, and
the,
it's part of the Heritage Foundation and
Yep.
Project 2025. So this is very strategic for them because they're looking at the law and they're weaponizing the law. So we need to look at the law and give the legal context for why this is not discrimination.
Do we have legal representation
for,
for this issue?
so yes, so Washington State is fighting it. It's not something that Spokane is fighting. So Washington State is fighting and they've been winning so far against HUD. I think it's something that's coming out of the AG's office, and anyone who knows Nick Brown is gonna, make sure that that doesn't, happen. He'll fight it. So I believe that they do have lawyers on that level. I'm not the expert on the exact case, but that's what is happening. And a lot of things, to that April's point, a lot of other programs that were designed to give us a leg up or give Black and brown communities repair or reparation is being attacked. And so how do we safeguard it? How do we as a community and how do we as an organization of NAACP support or safeguard these attacks that are coming down? So it's not that we're going to have the answers tonight, but it's definitely something that we all really need to think about. So I teed it up for you, Luke. Let me do an introduction. If you all do not know, this is our former third vice president and our former member at large of the NAACP. He is a representative for the governor's office. He's the Eastern Washington liaison. Is that correct?
Yes.
For the governor's office. And he is also one of the founders of Take All Foundation, and Take All is or Take All Coalition. Take All Coalition is essentially a legislative organization. Is that right?
Yeah,
Advocacy, yes. And so we have a coalition of Black and brown businesses, and we work with them to come up with issues and capital campaigns to take before Olympia to get, again, those issues and appropriations to come back into our community. And he's going to talk a little bit more about the importance, some of the wins that we had from the 2026 and the importance of being legislative minded, civic engagement minded as we go into 2027. So
Yeah,
go ahead, Luke.
thank you for that. I was gonna say I have it right too. Let's say you stole some of my thunder already, but it's great to be with you all. I'm usually online for these meetings, cooking dinner. So you got me out of cooking dinner tonight. It's good to be here with you. And the first thing like Ms. President mentioned, I'm the Eastern Washington representative for the governor's office. I cover the 9 eastern counties, the liaison between community and the governor's office. If we go to the next slide, I'm gonna quiz y'all. Okay, so we're gonna do a quick quiz, and you're gonna let me know, did it pass or not? Let's go to the next one. Okay. A law requiring employees to notify immigrant workers before federal I-9 audits. Did that pass this year or not? Say no.
I thought we were. I don't think so. It's a guess.
Yeah, no, we're not gonna, yeah, you're not gonna get in trouble if you guess wrong.
I would be surprised if it passed. I'd be glad.
Okay.
I'd be surprised.
So let's see what the answer is. You gotta click it one more time.
Wait. Oh, okay.
Oh, isn't it?
There we go.
There we go. It passed. Yeah. So that was a big win. This year, past legislative session, NAACP members and members of Take All were really big in making sure that passed, along with other groups as well. So we'll go to the next question. Okay, did this pass? We can't have 2 in a row, right?
Right.
A ban on law enforcement wearing face masks during public.
Yes.
Oh, we say, yeah, you sure?
Yes.
Let's see. Hey! Yes. So it did pass. And again, I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Okay. And then I think Oh no,
No.
did this pass, a voter ID requirement demanding proof of citizenship? Did that pass?
Yes.
No, it didn't pass, you're correct, but, right, we know what's happening nationally. And this was introduced by several legislators in our state, so they're not gonna stop. They're going to see how they can maneuver, maybe get some more people on board to run this again. Okay, so just going over some of the wins this past legislative session. Like Ms. President was saying, we expanded eligibility for the covenant home ownership, so more people could qualify. And then another cool thing is we created a way where borrowers can qualify for loan forgiveness after 5 years. So that was another huge win.
What does that mean? So, meaning that they can qualify for loan forgiveness after 5 years,
So-
after.
So after 5 years, if they're making payments, if they're showing that they're doing great, then so the average loan is around $110,000. That means that that payment will be forgiven. So they won't have to owe that much anymore. So that's huge.
So is it still, that's less than 120 payments as it stands right now? For certain programs, for loan forgiveness, you have to make 120 payments. That would be less than 120 payments, if my math is correct. 'Cause 120 payments is
120 payments is 10 years.
It's 10 years, yeah.
So it's better than.
It's better than, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, man. So
Because I already have that plan.
do I. That's it.
10 years, 10
10
long
years, yeah, suffering.
So, let's talk about HUD, because HUD is now under this administration trying to, like April was saying, they're blocking all of these programs.
Correct. So the Trump administration is really trying to, I mean, you already heard it from Ms. President in April. And, our AG's office, they're pretty good at what they do. And we're winning a lot of trials. And as you can see by Governor's coat, we're not scared. And I think we have enough to make sure that we're supporting everyone in our state. So if we want to go to the next slide here. So another big win was Community Reinvestment Fund. The Community Reinvestment Fund is through Department of Commerce, and it's really going to a lot of the Black and Brown communities, right, that are often left behind, are often underfunded. And some of the buckets that we were able to get more funds under is economic development, legal assistance, violence intervention, and reentry services. So we have a lot of gaps with folks that are, served time and being incarcerated, and they come out and so this will help with that as well. And again, that happened with a lot of you all just making sure your voices were heard, talking to legislators, because they were trying to cut this program altogether. So before last session, this wasn't even on Commerce's package. So to be able to be put back on and funded higher, that's another win. We'll go to the next slide. All right. Which East Central, look, if you know this answer, don't answer. All right. Which East Central Spokane project received state transportation budget funding this past legislative session? Is it a new freeway interchange? Is it beloved Kijiji? Or is it a downtown parking garage? Which one is it?
It should be.
It should be the freeway.
It should be the freeway?
It should be the freeway.
Ooh.
Because that's what they've been trying to.
Well, downtown parking garage would be the city, right?
Downtown parking garage, yeah, it could be the city. Sometimes there's weird you know. Actually, the answer is B, beloved
That's what I
Kijiji.
said.
Yeah, but those of you who know Chauncey Jones, Anna Franklin, there's so many others that are included in the work. But again, this was community-led, really pushing legislators. Senator Riccelli was able to get it in the budget. And as many of you know, East Central has been, there's been no investment in East Central for a very long time, right? And when they displaced those 500 homes, all we've been seeing is just vacant lots sitting, right? And the school, Stevens Elementary, all those kids, all they see is just a vacant lot in front of them, right? That
Francis
doesn't,
Scott.
huh? Oh, Francis Scott, thank you. Yeah, I'm by Stevens. Francis Scott. So that's the lot that now we're gonna be able to build workforce housing. We're gonna be able to get childcare and be able to get a community health clinic there as well, right? And the community's been asking that for a while since things changed in where MLK is at right now. So this was huge, and again, this is the power of community getting together. The freeway has a lot of funding. It has, we
That's why I was
funded
gonna
it.
ask,
Yeah.
because this said state transportation budget, so I didn't think they
Correct.
would give that.
So the state
Transportation budget.
transportation budget is part of what we were talking about with WashDOT. So
Okay.
WashDOT has this obligation that they need to give back to the community because they displaced the 500 homes. So the question is a little like, because you would think that the priority is, and the priority is still the interchange, it's
Yeah.
still there, like, it's still gonna be there. But the major big win was that land coming back to community, beloved Kijiji was able to have get that land by Francis Scott to start building. And that's a major win, not just for them, but for the community overall, because it is very much needed, especially on that side of the freeway. If you're familiar with where it used to be Sheridan Elementary, but now Francis Scott, that area there really needs health clinic, more childcare, all of the different resources in that community.
Yeah, and then we'll go to the next slide here. I think it's gonna show the answer. All right. Okay, so another area where we had a big win is Black maternal health. So in the governor's budget, there were proposed cuts to maternal health, and a lot of community members pushed back and advocated for right. Like this is there's certain things that it's just a no-brainer, right? And luckily we were able to make the case, and we saw 0 cuts to maternal health this past legislative session. Next legislative session, we're facing $1 billion deficit. That's what the projection is right now. So it's going to need everybody to get out there and make sure that services are being protected and investments are going into people.
Is that both state and federal or just state?
As far as the $1 billion,
The cut, yeah.
So yes, we've seen a lot of cuts federally. Where we're feeling it the most is childcare, Medicaid, and rural health. Rural health funds are struggling quite a bit, and what's the other one? And then just any social service as well. So, in my opinion, that's where our state needs to really focus investments, because we know we're not going to get that federally. What we have seen federally, surprisingly, is a lot of, I shouldn't say surprisingly, but infrastructure. So a lot of infrastructure stuff has been going through. A lot of the climate related stuff even though there's so much rhetoric, we're still seeing those funds come through. Albeit they did lose, the federal government did lose some big cases. So they've had to allocate those climate dollars. So those are some areas that I believe we'll see funding federally, but we do got to make some decisions statewide. Okay, and then the last one here is, there's been mixed results on Apple Health expansion. Okay, so we didn't see as big of cuts as we were anticipating, but so if you are a person who is an immigrant who has a worker's permit and you're working, you're paying taxes, you actually don't qualify a lot of times for healthcare. And now it's going to be harder for folks. So we're talking in the tune of going from 71 million to down to 50 million that's available to support our immigrant folks with health coverage. We'll go to the next slide. Okay, so really quick, I want to just hit a few more slides here. So immigration rights. So immigrant worker protection, like we mentioned before, it did pass. So employers have to give 72 hours of advance notice to employees, and that just gives them time, right, to call family, or if they have representation, to figure out what their rights are. And the other piece too is there's a $2,000 fine per employee if the employer does not do that in time. So it has some teeth to it, right? The other piece is the face mask ban. That went through as well. And the thing about this that I want you all to be able to help community understand too is, if ICE has a face covering and they're detaining someone, and there might be a police officer there, that police officer cannot enforce the face mask ban on that ICE agent. Okay, so they can't do anything. What can happen is whoever's being detained, now they have the right to sue that ICE agent. So they have the right to take legal action against that ICE agent if they're wearing a face mask. So that's very important for folks to understand, right? So please help make sure we're relaying that.
Yeah, take pictures, right? Take pictures if
Please,
you're there.
yes. Yeah, absolutely. Document everything.
Come talk to me if you want to get trained on how to be a legal observer.
Yes. Okay, so the piece that we didn't do so well on, which is the next slide.
Sorry, I can't wait to go back and forth for some weird reason.
No worries. It's childcare. So childcare, what was proposed in the governor's budget was basically kicking off 14,000 families immediately off of state subsidy. Okay, that's what was proposed. So that immediately was rejected by our state legislature. But what we are seeing now is, they had to do cuts. So they did cuts to the tune of $143 million to childcare, and a lot of that is based off of providers claiming. Okay, so all the false allegations that were going out about fake childcares. Unfortunately, what people hear, a lot of times they just believe without checking the facts. So because of public perception, the state legislature felt a little bit more backing to be able to do some cuts in early learning. And what this does here is, so imagine a lot of providers are serving those high flight kids and families, right? So, a lot of times providers hold that slot for that child. That child may come 4 or 5 days, right? A lot of times they might be unhoused, they might right? They might have families who are battling addiction, okay? So their schedules, it's just up and down. What providers are going to be forced to do now, so before, providers were able to hold that slot. Look, when that child comes, love on them, make sure they're fed, make sure they're taken care of, right? But now providers are going to have to, if that child leaves for more than 5 days, more than 10 days, they have to give that slot to somebody else or disenroll that family. So you could imagine what impact this is going to have. Look, if this is something that's important to you, I would really ask you to make sure you're talking to your legislators so that this could be rectified and more families are not harmed. If you go to the next slide. Okay, so our voting rights, look, we're pretty lucky to be in Washington State, okay? So we have some strong protections on our voting rights. So we have automatic voter registration, okay? We have, so a lot of times when folks are incarcerated or they get released, they think they can't vote. Another thing that we need to make sure we think of as NAACP is really helping folks understand, no, you still have the right to vote. In a lot of states, they don't. And the last one is actually, I'll come back to that. So if you want to go to the next slide, this is where I want to leave y'all. There's two things. One is a lot of times, and I'm not saying it's you in this room, okay, but maybe you know somebody that doesn't feel like they have much to offer. They don't feel like they know all of the stuff, right? And sometimes folks get this sense of like imposter syndrome. What I'm saying to all of you is this ain't the time. This ain't the time to be in your head. This ain't the time to like question whether or not you have something to offer or not. Like this is the time to just get in whatever you have, use. And I would really appreciate if you made sure you shared that out to everybody in your network as well, because we're going to need everyone. We have not seen attacks on our rights like this for a very long time. For a very long time, and this is real. There's a few. I got 2 slides of call to action, but that's what I wanted to leave you with. Your voice matters, and I appreciate your time listening to me and doing the quizzes with me. And if there's any questions for me, I'll give you back time.
Any questions or concerns or comments or anything? This is time for open dialogue or how we're feeling. I think I asked the question earlier about what are pressing issues in our community. He has the governor's ear. So, I mean, if there's anything that we want to talk about or say or make mention, I think, now's a good time. While we have someone who is part of our NAACP family, but also is in the position to speak directly with the governor.
I think food insecurity specifically as one of the things another organization I'm a part of is looking at this year heavily is the food insecurity. And I have people who work for the county who have told me I've had to go to a food bank. You would think I work for the government, I should be able to feed my family. That's not the reality. And I don't know, I don't have the answers. I know that people need that reciprocity though, just to feel like I'm not asking for a handout. I want to be able to take care of my family in terms of food. But I don't have that. on top of everything else that, I was told recently, oh, we have good jobs. Yeah, that doesn't mean anything if we can't, if people are malnourished and they can't focus at work and they have to be standing in long lines to get food. And so I think that's a big thing. That is kind of, it falls into the same bucket as that childcare. Because a lot of those kids, that might have been the only meal they'd have gotten, like that breakfast, lunch would have been the meals they would have gotten for the day. That's the reality for a lot of kids.
Yeah.
And then we talk about, well, they're at risk. They're at risk because they're hungry or they're malnourished. Their brains can't function. So I think that's a big thing. Too.
So on that, do you know of anything that is being proposed at the state level to deal with his concern? Because that is incredibly important.
Yeah, so first of all, you're right on the money, right? Like kids can't learn if they're hungry. Like I don't think anyone can, right?
I can't do my job if I'm hungry.
Yeah. So one of the things that I'm proud of that we were able to pass this past legislative session is a pathway for all our kids in school to get free meals. And that was a battle. That was a fight. So that's one step that we're taking. The other piece is we're looking at buckets of funding to be able to offset some of the federal losses to support food security. But there's more we could do, and I would ask anyone here to reach out to me. It's always good if I get emails, because then I can either connect you to the right policy person or I could elevate. So for instance, just for food for thought, 40 is the number. Okay, what that means is if I get 40 emails or responses about a particular topic, that gets elevated really quick. You'd be surprised how little we reach past 40 for issues you hear about every single day, people talking about. But what happens is people don't take that action to, write that email or make that call. So
Okay, perfect. That's good to know.
Is that something that we as a body or membership of NAACP, if there's a particular topic and we do like a letter writing campaign and like we have a template and I send it to members and then each member like bloop, 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 so that it's 40 emails into your inbox?
Absolutely. That would be very helpful.
That's solid, and that's a small number. I mean, I'm surprised that that's an achievable number. I think.
More people go on Facebook.
Yeah.
Than they go on like the actual people that can make the decision.
Yeah, we like to vent.
Yeah, we like to vent. And that's true. I should know that. I don't know that we have a number with Spokane City Council, but if we have an issue that's coming up and there are organizations that come together and they do a letter writing campaign, the next thing you know, our emails are blowing up with a lot of people submitting emails about a particular ordinance or resolution that's coming up that council is considering. And whether they're for it or against it, we start to see our inboxes full. And one of them I can tell you that I remember were like, I was having and I'm not a council person, it's just because I'm on the distribution. The biggest one was fluoride. When they were talking about fluoride in the water, it was a huge issue. And we were getting emails from both sides, people who were saying, yes, we want fluoride because it's going to be beneficial to these kids. And those are low income communities that can't get to dental. And then there's people who are saying, no, because don't tamper with our water. There's already fluoride in the water. Don't increase it. So it was a huge issue. And actually, council has the power to decide for the city of Spokane, and that's what people don't understand. They think that the state, no, it is here, the council. And the other issue is people want it to be a ballot measure, not something that council just makes the decision for them. So they did a whole study on it first and how much it would cost and the engineering. Long story short, they scrapped it. They just took it off. They're no longer putting fluoride in the water. They're not tampering with it. However, to Luke's point, we had so many emails that came in. And it really did, council members were looking at it like, whoa, like, okay, this is a real issue. So I can believe the power of people emailing or letter writing campaign. It really does make an impact.
Can I ask a question? Is there some reason that's not put out for people to know? I'm not going to act, right? If I don't know there's a target for me to act on, right?
Yeah.
So is that something that we can share? Right? If we're going to have our voices heard, we need at least 40 of y'all to voice.
Yeah, yeah.
Least.
I mean, something that straightforward, right? So now, instead of fiddling on Facebook, I got 10 friends, we can do, yeah.
Yeah, like, why isn't it, I could think of several reasons why it's not shared, why that's the.
Because they don't want 40 emails in their inbox. They don't want that in their inbox.
But yeah, but I'm telling you, what do you do with that information there? Because
I think he just gave you a little pebble of wisdom that's,
You can spread it.
yeah.
It's germinate. I think it's doing.
Yeah. Anything else? This is good dialogue.
I was gonna say it also depends on how involved you are personally in different community groups, like say NAACP or PJALS. There's different groups, Scar. They send out things. I get things from a lot of different things. And if they have something they're trying to present to the ballot, they ask you to sign it. They're in emails. If you get on lists for a lot of these different organizations, you don't even have to necessarily be a member of these organizations. You can just get on their emails. And they always have initiatives or different things that you can sign and agree with if you want to. Because I sign a lot of them. I got a lot of them. And I sign a lot of them. So.
And the reason why I wanted this kind of open dialogue is because I like I think Miss Sandy Williams said it best, nothing about us without us. There are a lot of decisions that are made on our behalf and that taking into consideration our voices. And I think that too many times organizations, even probably in the past NAACP, whoever's in the leadership will just say, oh, well, this is important. I speak on behalf of the body and just move. No, I need to hear feedback from all of you. And you tell me what is important and what we need to really put our weight behind so that we can do a letter writing campaign, so that we can do a resolution that's going to go to the body. It's not just I'm going to decide for the body. I want the body, it should be from the ground up. And being able to hear your voices, because you all the butch soldiers in the community and in this body, and that's part of being members of this organization, is saying what we want and what we want to see changed in our community.
Yeah.
I think the voice of the community, the Black people, the brown people, is central, because if we look at history and how colonization works, it works because decisions are made for groups of people.
Mm-hmm.
And even when there is the image of working with people in those communities, really it's about shared power.
Yeah.
And it's really about allowing those who have been marginalized, like nothing about us without us, giving power and voice and control to those people who have not historically had it, and not feeling like it's cramping your style when it happens, because that's what true liberty looks like. And there's too much repackaging of old things in new packaging with the same old saying, either we want it to stop or we don't. And if we want it to stop, we have to disrupt it and stand on business about that.
And I think too, we take for granted our power from a local level. We have council members, we have administration, we have commissioners that make these decisions on our behalf. Like I just explained, they were gonna make a whole decision about fluoride in our water. Just the council, they weren't gonna give it to the people. So this is what I mean by getting civically involved, because now you're having decisions made for you and you don't even have a say. And if we as a body say, no, this is what's happening, we need to put our weight behind it, even on a local level, that can make change. Our prosecutor attorneys, our judges, those are all a power of us, of how we vote
Yeah.
and how we make those decisions. Any ballot initiatives, taxes, all of that. And I think that it's one, we need to do a better job of also educating those who are not in the room, because we have a lot of people who just, they get their voter pamphlet, you know, they don't even pay attention to the voter pamphlet. And when it comes time to vote, it's just based on name recognition, not even what that person stands on.
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen that name before. Oh, that person has a sign, you know, in the yard across the street from me. You know, that name recognition. And a lot of candidates, they really bank on that.
Yep.
They bank on
Oh,
the
that's
ignorance
for
of voters, and that they can get their name out there, they get signs out there, they're on TV, they're in community. I'm gonna go with who I know, and it could be a complete different issue or completely against what we're trying to do, but because you recognize their name, that's who you voted for. You know,
I think having community conversations like this is really, we're saturated with information now with social media. We don't know what's true. We have all these
AI.
We got AI. I almost don't even want to look at what's on because I'm like, that's not really them, is it? But I think, and I got this from when I interviewed Aaron Dixon, is like compared to the 60s when, you know, the Black Panther Party and all these community groups were coming together, they were coming together.
Yeah.
They were sitting down together. They were having real conversations. And how do we know what's on the ballot? I mean, because if I'm gonna just, like, don't let anyone turn your brain off. And so when we have conversations like what Luke is talking about, like there's like when he went over the true or false, that's how you know what's on the ballot, because those are real conversations with trusted messengers and community stakeholders, face to face, flesh and blood, hearing it, and then almost having little mini classroom time.
Yeah.
That's how we get it done, and that's what they did in the 60s. They didn't have all this stuff.
Yeah, that way you spoke about education. I think not just this, but break down for people how each level of government works. The average person doesn't
They
understand
do
it.
not understand. We need to have
Oh, they don't
schoolhouse
know.
rock
It's
for
like,
that.
what? They know state level and federal level, but they don't understand how the city council works within what the RCWs and the acts give them the authority to do. And we need to put more pressure on the county commissioners. We don't. These people work for us, and we need to let people. When you go, I don't have a real social media presence, but if I'm going to go to social media, let people know, hey, this is what you should be doing with your time on the internet. Find what the legislature is voting on, and press them. You know, we have people sitting on who sat in offices here, did nothing, and now they're going on to other offices and still doing nothing. And I don't want to call names, but you know, they literally did not show up at the office. I saw it and I made rows about it. Like this guy just does not show up to work, but he's an elected official. And he's an elected official on another level that's supposed to be like representing Eastern Washington, and it still isn't doing anything. What we do is we vote that person out. When you see the name, it's like, oh yeah, that's the name you don't vote for. You know, that's what we need to teach people. Like each level of government has a purpose, and it works for you, not for. They don't work for themselves. And somehow, I don't know if we do it here, and then from here, you take that out to the wider community, teaching people how the levels of government work for you. They are your employee. And as something that I think is being missed, then you know, since in the 10 years I've been here, it's like people don't understand that president works for you.
Yes, yes, yes.
Congress would, well, actually, it works like a business, right? The board instructs the CEO, and the CEO then executes. That's not what's happening,
No.
right?
No.
But people don't understand that that's how we're supposed to work, and it's up to people who know to teach, not just, you can't keep that information to yourself. Otherwise, we'll keep end up in situations like we are in now. And people just saying like, what is happening? What is happening is that you've given someone power that is not supposed to have it. So
And that was another reason why it was important to get our youth council up and going, because the youth council, for many ways, one, they're our future, and they're gonna be the future leaders. And so if we can have a hand in molding them and getting them on the right track on what to do for community, we need to do that now and collectively. And then two, they act as ambassadors to their peers once they are learned. So it's each one teach one. So once we teach them about the process, about why it's important to understand your local government, how it reflects the state government, and so forth and so on, then they can teach their peers or their family on how to vote and why it's important. So it's important that we're continuing to kind of pull in these young leaders, because they're also going to be the ones that are going to inherit our city. They're going to inherit this state. They're going to inherit this nation. And we want to make sure that we're good stewards of bringing them up properly. And I'm proud that we have our youth council advisor here with us, but I'm glad that we have a good youth present in Spokane. It's making sure that we are surrounding them, giving the support that they need so that they can rise up. I just saw today, and the reason why I'm bringing this up, one of the youth councils in Alabama is doing a teen town hall. And that teen town hall is to talk about their primaries, about their voting. And they want to be able to get out there as teens, and they're having elected officials come. I was invested. I was like, what? I want to go to the teen town hall. And so they're having local officials come to their teen town hall to talk about, whatever their issues are. But the teens are the ones who should be moving this, and they should be our new young leaders, and get them off of social media, get them, because right now AI is not only corrupting our minds, it's really corrupting their minds, and it's manipulating their decisions on what's really impacting us in the real world.
And to your point, that's the fastest growing rate of conservative registration.
yes.
Yes.
Scary.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Like, I really appreciate your aside about childcare, naming that some of the national rhetoric made it easier for Washington State to let cuts happen to childcare. I think sometimes people, myself included, I can get lazy feeling like I'm protected in a progressive state, or I see a government that generally acts on my behalf, that generally the people that I want to get elected have been elected. I've been lucky in a lot of that ways. But I also know too well that in that, I live in a bias where I'm listening to people who generally also are talking about other things that I agree with, and I don't get to see what you get to see, which is how the other side is coming for these same bills and goals. And I think I'm curious how, if there are other issue areas where you see the opposition is organizing in a way that is loud, that we are not, that we are either that we need to get organized around strategically.
Yes, there is, and so and this is my opinion, right? So I'm speaking as Luke Jasmine right now. I'm hitting doors right now. I'm talking to our neighbors. You know what the number one thing I'm hearing at the door right now is? Millionaire's tax.
Yeah.
People are frustrated, and these are all, and I know NAACP has no party affiliation, so I'm just giving you information to give you context of what I'm saying, right? I'm knocking 65 and up identified Democrat doors, and their majority of them really upset about the millionaire's tax. So what that tells me is we are doing a terrible job of articulating
What it-
what it does. So I'll share a few things. One is, right, we're a whole state, so that means we all pay in, right? To upkeep Washington State, it's a lot of money. We understand that majority of the population lives on the west side. So that's why we're getting high sales tax, high property tax, the gas tax, right? Us in Eastern Washington, we're paying, right, collectively, what it takes to take care of the whole state. To me, it's way more equitable for folks. So we don't have anybody who fits the threshold, or not a lot of people who fit the threshold here in Eastern Washington. There's like a handful east of the mountains. So that means most of those funds are generated, on the west side as far as high income earners, right? So if the majority of the population is there, if the majority of the expenses are going there, it doesn't make sense for us to be paying collectively the same amount, right? So the millionaire's tax balances it, right? So working families tax credit, so major investments there. We lowered B&O, small businesses. How many of our small businesses are hurting or they're jumping to Idaho, right? So having B&O tax relief, that helps us out here. And we're gonna see more funding for education, more funding for early learning through really what's rightfully ours. And the thing is, a lot of the people are also saying, well, they're just going to move it down. It's going to be $1 millionaire, but now it's going to be, if you make $40,000, you're going to be paying it. The thing is, we're already paying it. We're already paying the tax, and it's grossly disproportionate. So whatever you can to just chat with folks. Like, yes, we need to get B&O down. We do. We need to help our small businesses out, and we do need to alleviate all of our taxes. But anything that you can do to really help folks understand that this is really helping us out as opposed to a burden on us, it'd be huge, because I am surprised how many folks I'm just hearing at the doors. The conservatives do a really good job of making people fear. They really do. So we got to combat that with just knowledge and education.
So we have about 20 minutes left. Another question I wanted you to hit upon, what should we be looking forward to for 2027? Are there any, outside of food insecurities, of course, and childcare protections, anything else that we should be hyper focused on going into 2027?
It's really early, but there's going to be a lot of discussion about data centers.
Again, it's going back.
What we do about data centers, and it's so nuanced, because typically, we don't necessarily. I'm trying to be mindful of my words. We're seeing union support the building of data centers because that's jobs. So, and we want to support our unions. So that's kind of a rub that we need to figure out. Obviously, we're hearing from utilities how they're making the pitch on how this is better and they can do lower rates. But then from community, we're hearing from community, no, we don't want this. This is going to raise our rates. This is going to contaminate our water. And then to top that off, there's also a revenue question. All the states are really battling to see how they can bring in data centers because they're looking at it as a way to get revenue in order to fund infrastructure and all the things. So it is nuanced. It's going to be a big conversation. So if you have opinions on data centers, I would say, make sure that you're tracking and you're making your voice heard.
Yeah.
The other area that we need to look at too is, as I mentioned, early learning. I anticipate there's going to be a visitation of early learning again, and that there's going to be more cuts. So we'll need to watch that. We'll need to watch health. I don't anticipate that even if we see a big change during midterms, it's still going to take a while, right? So that means these next 2 years, we're going to be feeling the impacts of decisions that are made now. So what I'm saying is, obviously, I don't think there's any appetite for any other new taxes. So if we don't get more revenue, but we want to fund our services, you get what I'm saying? So it's an all-out fight for the things you believe in, now more than ever.
Any other questions or comments for Luke?
The question about data centers has to do with the East Central dialogue that's already happening with the whole conversation around gentrification. That is a big thing in like Tennessee right now. The Black communities are being hit, so I feel like when you talk about data centers, from that standpoint, revenue, yes, but at the expense of who? But at the expense of who? And here we go with that same old saying, packaging in a new way. Because we know where they're gonna put them. And it's happening. I'm trying to do a series on it for the taper because it's coming to a city near you. Down south, it's hitting hard. I mean, look how long Flint went with bad water in Michigan.
I think data
From
center
a
also in
national
Ohio.
perspective,
Yeah.
national
Oh, they just
perspective,
sued.
yeah, NAACP National, they're really working on, there's a resolution now about the data centers.
I think they actually sued.
The thing is, also about this, it's not going to create as many jobs as they say it's going to create.
It's not.
And because it came up in one of the county public meetings, I was like, you're selling it as a job, it's not going to create that many jobs. And with remote work, someone can fly in, they put it out in Area Heights, flying to Spokane International, go into, like you said, a team of 10, jump on a plane, get there, do their work, job, and get back out. They're selling it as that, but it's not going to be that. That's not the reality.
And what
People need to get on the internet and do the right things, which is to research and find out what it is.
And one of the things, so I think, again, this is just my own personal opinion. The way I would look at it is allowing regional input on what happens with data centers. So I feel comfortable to say in Spokane, we don't want one.
Right.
In Quincy, they want one. In Usk, right? And, even though I don't agree, I have a hard time, right, telling the community who has $1 million as operating budget, what they can and can't do. But I do think we need to get some more education out so folks truly understand what they're buying. Yeah.
It's important. And it's very crucial that people, we need to change how people use the internet. It's a tool. And And I think it's a tool that's not being utilized properly. Basic things like finding out what your legislation is voting on, if things are passed, who your representatives are, who your council people are. They pass you in the street, they might pass you in the mall, and you can talk to them because they work for you. From that level and just build from there. But it's gonna take some work that we can't just say it, but I think it's gonna take just training, explain to people how these different levels of government work.
Well, this has been a very robust conversation tonight. I appreciate it. And I thank you all for coming. If there's not anything else, well, I'll adjourn the meeting.
Can I make a quick,
Oh, go ahead.
just quick announcement? I'm gonna just hand around these flyers. This past week, last year, so I'm tired. I'm just gonna take a deep breath. I'm gonna start this thought from the beginning. Okay, there we are. Last year, June 11th, a number of folks protested the illegal detention of 2 young Venezuelan immigrants at the ICE facility. This past week, after that, 9 folks in Spokane were arrested on federal charges by the U.S. government for conspiracy to impede or injure U.S. officers. Yeah, conspiracy, pretty loaded term for 3 people who did not talk in advance about what they were doing. As Liz Moore said, this was the most spontaneous protest that Spokane has ever seen. Maybe not ever, but in our living memory. So it's hard to imagine how this could be a conspiracy. There are 3 folks who are pleading not guilty. There are 6 who have already pleaded guilty for reduced charges. The 3 who have not are Jack Archer, who's the co-executive director of SCAR, Justice for All, and then Bajan Mablawala Jr. These 3 are taking it all the way, and they're pleading not guilty. This last week, they had a hearing they asked the judge to dismiss the case, saying that the charge of conspiracy didn't fit. The judge felt that the case needed to go to trial. She named that while she had certain opinions on what the law state, this was a moment where the debate is facts, and so it's up to a jury to decide. Knowing that is coming, so it's going to be in the second week of May 16th or 18th, one of those is when the trial starts. There's a group of us who are representatives from different organizations, including SCAR and Peace and Justice Action League of Spokane, who have formed a support committee for these folks. They're not really allowed to speak on their own behalf. It's not advisable for them to be doing, a lot of interviews and talking right now. It's just generally how our justice system works. So we have to speak on behalf of what we know to be true in the community and really try to build a narrative that says that, in Spokane, we don't, many of us are protesters, many of us are activists. This was a targeted attempt to silence and criminalize our dissent and the action to charge these folks. So I'm just what we're doing right now is we're leading up to the cases, or to the trial, is really just trying to do some more of that normalizing and talking to folks. I did some math, and if you live in the city of Spokane, there's a 92% chance you knew somebody who protested on June 11th, because we're a close enough community and enough people turned out. So the idea that the only people who protested were crazy wild radicals is just not, was never true. And it's also unfortunately being used to harm, the public narrative around the 3 people who have remained in the case. So if you are so inspired, we have been releasing sort of some videos online to sort of just ask people to say hey, this is I'm so-and-so, here's some things about me that make me just a normal average person, and also I'm a protester, with the goal of making sure that people in our community, if they're less political, less active, less maybe not watching the news, haven't paid attention, that we can dispel those folks in our life from buying into the idea that it was a bunch of crazy violent radicals, and then in fact it was actually just average citizens who know our rights and who I'm going to stand on business and are not going to let our neighbors be taken without a fight, and are not going to let our rights go without standing up for them. So I didn't bring enough flyers for everyone. I'll just sort of pass them, and if you are so inspired, you can take a photo and share, or reach out to me and I can get you
Can I
better
add something
copies.
to that? Because of historical purposes too, I noticed how they're trying to tag, I know the 3, and then the other 9 that got dismissed. The 3 that they're targeting are people of color, okay?
Yes.
And they're calling the whole 9, they started calling them the Spokane 9. Like the Central Park 5 or the Wilmington 9. They're trying to give these ominous terminologies already to the protesters. So I just wanted to point that out to see. That just bugged me to the end when I saw how they're even trying to frame it in the media.
And it is not a coincidence that the 3 people who decided to not plead guilty are 2 people of color and a veteran. It is not a coincidence that it was the white plaintiffs who decided to take the plea. It is simply not. We can, there's so many reasons behind that, but so I just think it's so important that we really show this community is going to stand behind the 3 who are really fighting for truth in this moment.
When is the trial? You said May 16th.
May 18th.
I can't remember if it's the 16th or the 18th. I have such a hard time with numbers.
I think it's
Text,
16.
email us.
Yes, and we'll actually, so the goal is that we want supporters in the courtroom every single day. This could, it could be a week. I have no idea how long a trial like this will last. So Peace and Justice Action League of Spokane, we're kind of using their email list to spread information about this. So if you're not signed up for their email list, this would be a great time.
May 18th, because that's a Monday.
Thank you. Yeah, okay. So then it'll probably be all that
May
week.
16th is our White Rose Branch. But May 18th is a Monday, so that makes sense, that tracks.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have a little sign up form so that we can make sure, we want we want supportive faces there. We filled the courtroom plus for the hearing. Certainly this is getting some attention, but also we really, it's mostly, by the time we're at trial, we certainly aren't protesting. We are there in silent, helpful support of our peers, but we'll definitely let you know.
Hadley, is there a time limit on how long? I mean, I don't want to make a huge YouTube, but is there like a 1 minute limit or?
Yeah, we recommend short. Short is always better because I don't know about you, but my internet attention span is small.
30
So if you can keep it under a minute, 30 seconds I think it has to be at least 30 seconds to be on
Yeah.
Instagram or something.
Those are the algorithms I'm going.
Yeah, but yeah, okay, Luke knows. So 30 seconds to a minute is great. Yeah.
All right, you all, until next time,
Thank
be
you.
safe. Thank you.
I just sent you.
Okay.